Our next story comes from the United Kingdom. It involves this woman, Suella Braverman. She is the UK's Home Secretary. If you're unfamiliar with her, let me now show you her latest rant against refugees.
There are vast swathes of the world where it is extremely difficult to be gay or to be a woman. Where individuals are being persecuted, it is right that we offer sanctuary. But we will not be able to sustain an asylum system if, in effect, simply being gay or a woman or fearful of discrimination in your country of origin is sufficient to qualify for protection.
That's Britain's Home Secretary trying to tell us what a refugee is. She's unable to fix the UK's migration headache, so instead she wants to change the very definition of a refugee. She wants governments to rewrite the global refugee rules so that they are fit for a modern age. Let me now explain what she actually wants. If you belong to the LGBTQI community and feel persecuted in your own country, don't bother applying for asylum to the UK, because the Home Secretary doesn't think you're a refugee. If you're a woman being discriminated against in your country for whatever reason, don't bother seeking asylum in the UK, because Braverman doesn't think you qualify as a refugee. It gets worse. Braverman's latest rant against refugees came in Washington. She was addressing a think tank. She wants changes in the United Nations 1951 Refugee Convention to suit the UK's own selfish interests. Her goal is simple: to reduce the number of people entitled to protection. You see, the Conservative government in the UK wants international support for its hardline stance on unauthorised migration. Listen to what she says next.
Seeking asylum and seeking better economic prospects are not the same thing. Seeking refuge in the first safe country you reach, or shopping around for your preferred destination, are not the same thing. Being trafficked, i.e. transported against your will, perhaps to be sold into sex slavery, and being smuggled, i.e. asking someone to sneak you into a country, are not the same thing.
Listen to that. Is this what you expect from the Home Secretary of a country which claims to be liberal? Look at the language she uses to talk about refugees. There is no compassion, no sympathy. Does Braverman really think that migrants are shopping for destinations? That those fleeing war, those fleeing persecution, those fleeing natural calamity are coming to the UK for some fish and chips? What's ironic is that she says those seeking refuge in her homeland are doing so for better economic prospects. Need I remind her about the economic mess that the UK is currently in? Her comments have been condemned. Refugee and human rights groups have criticised her for her polarising words. In fact, even the UK's own immigration lawyers say that her argument holds no merit. Her claim that rising numbers of asylum seekers find refuge in the West because of lax asylum rules does not apply in the UK. Immigration lawyers have reminded her that asylum seekers are required to prove that they indeed fear persecution. Only then can they cross the borders. Does Braverman really think that members of the LGBTQI community who are tortured in many countries are coming to the UK for a shopping excursion? Her statement is devoid of feeling. Some may call it a gaffe, but others are asking, what else do you expect from her? Just look at her past comments to see her obsession with the UK's borders. Braverman is the Home Secretary of the United Kingdom. She is a figurehead of the right wing of the governing Conservatives in the UK. She has been branded as a hardline immigration chief of the United Kingdom. Remember, this is a Cambridge-educated lawyer we're talking about. Under her, Britain has adopted a punitive approach to people who arrive by unauthorised means. Part of Braverman's obsession is with small boats moving across the English Channel. Look, there is a crisis at hand, there's no denying that. More than 45,000 people arrived in the UK by boat from northern France last year. This is up from 28,000 in 2021 and 8,500 in 2020. Braverman's argument has always been the same, that migrants are straining Britain's public finances. She also says these arrivals are posing threats to public safety. She says boat arrivals bring with them more crime to the so-called safe shores of Britain. Remember, the UK has passed a law calling for small boat migrants to be detained and then deported permanently to their home nation or third countries like Rwanda. And Rwanda has agreed. Do we know what kind of plight awaits migrants if they are sent back to the country, the very country that they were trying to escape from? No. With leaders like Braverman, can the United Kingdom call itself a liberal democracy anymore? Let's not forget about Braverman's own origins. She was born to a Hindu Tamil mother and a Goan father. Her parents migrated to the UK in the 1960s. She's lucky the UK was more forgiving and sympathetic to migrants back then. It is because of the liberal migration policies of the UK back then that Braverman flourished and received the best education that the UK could offer, only to make these incendiary remarks today. Imagine if someone wanted to define a refugee back then or say no to migrants seeking a better life in the UK. The UK wants to stop these channel crossings. We understand that. Braverman wants to toughen refugee laws, but her recent attempt to change the definition of a refugee, her insensitive speech, has only won her international critique. This is what a failed politician looks like. The issue of migration is a complex one. I'm not denying that. But to be insensitive to the plight of migrants, to use such callous language is not okay. Remember, no one puts their child on a boat unless the water is safer than the land. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.